Question: what do Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, LaMelo Ball, Luka Doncic, Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Zion Williamson, and these 78 other players have in common? I'll give you a second to think about it. There's a lot of guys here, different teams and situations. It's injuries. All 88 of these players are either out or day-to-day due to injuries. NBA players just can't stay healthy. And no longer is it just the notoriously injury-prone players being sidelined. It seems like no one can avoid both small and severe injuries. And the weirdest part is that no one can figure out why. Today's video is brought to you by SeatGeek. With the NBA season quickly coming to a close, don't miss out on seeing your favorite team live and in person. And SeatGeek is here to get you in on the action. Check this out. Just download the SeatGeek app and use the promo code JIMMY to get $20 off your first order. SeatGeek makes buying tickets easier than ever before with a rating system that lets you know which tickets are a good deal and which tickets are a bad deal. If it's green, that's a banger. You're getting a good deal there. Red? Not so much. I've been using SeatGeek for years. It's simple, it's easy, and it's a surefire way to get the best deal for your tickets. Whether it's a concert, basketball game, football, baseball, festival, SeatGeek's got it all. Download the app, use promo code JIMMY, and get $20 off your first order today. In the 2002-2003 NBA season, Michael Jordan played in his last NBA game. And at 40 years old, Michael managed to play all 82 regular season games that year. Looking back, this seems like an extraordinary feat for an aging legend. But 20 years ago, it was fairly standard to play every single game. In fact, that same season, Kevin Garnett didn't miss a single game. Kobe Bryant didn't miss a game. Steve Nash didn't. Neither did Allen Iverson or Stephon Marbury. Even the 7'6" Yao Ming played all 82 games that season. Fast forward 20 years, and in a league where injuries and load management have ran rampant, there is only one all-star level player who hasn't missed a single game all season. But this is just the tip of the injury-riddled iceberg, because this season there are only 12 players who haven't missed a single game. 20 years ago, there were 46 players who didn't miss a single game all season. What's going on here? Why can't NBA players stay on the court? With advancements in training, nutrition, recovery, the amount of money these players are spending on their bodies, the world-class facilities and staff to keep them in impeccable condition, how are these players incapable of staying healthy? Well, we have some theories, but I'm not sure if anyone has an answer. There are currently 88 players throughout the NBA listed as out or day-to-day due to injuries. That is 20% of the entire league sidelined because of injuries. Over the last week, videos have surfaced from around the league of multiple players getting injured in the middle of their pre-game warm-ups, which has only shined an even brighter light on this issue that has been getting worse and worse each season. NBA players just can't stay healthy, and no one knows why. Despite the vast research and studies that have been poured into uncovering exactly why NBA players just can't stay healthy, there doesn't seem to be any clear-cut answer. Some factors point to the cumulative amount of wear and tear pro athletes today have gone through by the time they're in their mid-20s. Some studies have pointed towards the increase of dynamic in-game movements as the main culprit. But at most, these are just theories. Legendary NBA trainer Tim Grover, who worked with the likes of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade, attributes many injuries in the NBA today to simply not enough weightlifting. As players have shifted more and more towards sport-specific workouts and movements, their bodies have almost become unfamiliar with simple things like repetitive body weight impact and quick changes in momentum.
You build a foundation by lifting weights. You have so much more resources, less contact, and more injuries. It's mind-boggling to me. It's because everything is rubber band, everything is resistance, everything is cable. When you get hit, when you jump, when you land, there's no pulleys, there's no cables. Your body weight is the metal. You have to learn how to explode with it, and you also need to learn how to land with it and how to stop it. And that's what metal does. It teaches you to lift it, but it also teaches you to put it down. Accelerate and decelerate.
Grover also speculates that it's not what the players are doing today that leads them to injuries, It's what they've done in the past. In an article published by Sports Illustrated back in 2014, Grover explains, players aren't sustaining these injuries because of the games they're playing, they're getting these injuries because of the number of practices and games they've already played. Hundreds of games, thousands of hours since they were old enough to pick up a ball. Pee-wee, youth leagues, summer camps, travel teams, AAU, high school, college. A relentless schedule of games, practice, travel, and training, sometimes for multiple teams and leagues, with multiple trainers and programs. No time to play or train for other sports. End result, the same muscles, ligaments, tendons, and joints are used over and over again in the same direction, the same angles, the same motions. What piece of machinery doesn't eventually give out from repeated use over many years? At some point, the body just says, enough. Now, this theory of players putting far too many miles on their body by the time they reach the pros seems to be one of the more popular and accepted theory on these injuries. Another solid explanation for the rise of injuries around the league says the answer can be found in how the game is played today in contrast to how it was played in the past. 3 decades ago, the game wasn't nearly as spaced out as it is today. A more compact court means less ground to cover, less cuts, less movement, and less opportunity to get hurt. Instead of chasing shooters around for 48 minutes, offenses were usually played from the inside out. So defense was focused in the trenches, around the basket, where you might bang a knee or catch an elbow. Fast forward to today's game, and no player is exempt from playing cat and mouse for 4 quarters, running around screens, making 90-degree cuts at full speed, attempting to cover 15 feet in a split second as you close out on a shooter, and then forcing your body to come to a stop on a dime in an effort to not crash into him. These movements are violent. Your joints and muscles and ligaments can only move and stop and start like this so many times before they shut down. Years ago, the NBA just wasn't played at this speed, and the off-ball movement and spacing wasn't nearly this complex. But what do the players think? I mean, they are the ones experiencing this influx in injuries after all. Well, just a couple weeks ago, Paul George touched on the subject in an interview with JJ Redick and stated that players are getting injured more now than before because they don't practice enough. Which sounds counterintuitive, but his reasoning makes sense.
Now, they're like, teams don't really practice. You know, we're not getting up and down. You know, there's just, it's a lost art when it comes to that hard practicing. And I think that's why there's so many injuries that's going on, because guys that have a high load day and then a completely off day and then a high load day. You know, back then it was, you practice hard, you got a game. You practice hard, you got a game. Then you might have a day off. Then you come right back to it. So I feel like your body just built the callus, and that you were prepared for a long and rough season, to where injuries, like, you know, there wasn't that many injuries. There wasn't time to take a load off because you felt good to play. You know what I mean? It's almost the reverse. They think by giving us time off, it's helped managing our bodies. But in honesty, I think it's just making us weaker as players without putting that load and strain to our bodies.
And Paul George might be correct, but the increase of players who simply cannot stay on the court is a steady trend that's been going on for decades now. Back in 2000, Dr. Chad Starkey of Northeastern University conducted a study on the rate of injuries throughout the NBA, dating from 1989 to 1997. His study found that in that 10-year span, there was a 12.4% increase in game-related injuries around the league. And this problem is only getting worse each season. Not too long ago, if a player was consistently missing 10 games or more in a season, they were considered injury-prone. They were unreliable. Now playing 70 games or less in a season is considered the norm. In fact, if a high-caliber player isn't missing double-digit games in a season, most people think he's going to be burned out before the playoffs even begin. Just look at this year's All-Stars and how many games they've missed so far this season. There are currently 18 All-Stars who have already missed double-digit games this season, which may not sound like much, but 20 years ago, out of the entire NBA All-Star roster, only 3 players missed double-digit games throughout the entire season. This is absurd. And right about now, some of you may be thinking, Well, a lot of those games were missed due to load management. But the whole purpose of load management is to reduce the risk of injury. So if not for load management, there's a good chance that these numbers could be even higher. But despite this, the NBA has moved mountains to try and preserve their players' health. The league has reduced the number of back-to-back games, they've trimmed down the travel times, they've adjusted multiple defensive rules to help protect their players from getting hurt, and they've practically turned a blind eye to load management taking place around the league. Combine all of this with advancements in shoe technology, training, and recovery, and one could only wonder how players in the past could possibly stay healthy when players in today's NBA seem to be breaking down more often than ever before. Well, I think it boils down to two relatively simple factors: mileage and the evolution of the game. As many experts and fans have theorized, this newer generation of NBA players have put such an extreme amount of wear and tear on their bodies at such a young age that it's only a matter of time before something gives. Most of these players have put in so many hours through youth leagues, AAU, private training, and college that by the time they're in the league, they have put the same mileage on their legs and ligaments as a player well into his NBA career in previous generations. I look at it almost like a shelf life, a clock. Every athlete has a shelf life for their athletic career. For some, it could be 30 years. For others, it could be 10. But once you start training and playing at a high level, the clock starts. Now, there's ways you can prolong this clock, like proper nutrition and training, but there's also ways to speed up this clock, like overuse and chronic injury. And eventually, when this clock times out, there's really nothing you can do to go back. From that point on, every move you make will be at the risk of injury. NBA players today not only started their clocks much sooner than players in the past, but they are also constantly speeding up their clock with nagging and sometimes even severe injuries. And as we stated before, the second and most overlooked aspect of this whole thing is the evolution of the game. At the NBA level, basketball is played so fast and so hard with so many violent cuts and redirections and weird, awkward movements that even the best athletes in the world can only take so much. At some point, all these jarring movements are gonna take a toll. The game has slowly evolved from straight lines and 94 feet of simple one-motion actions to very complex, side-to-side, straining, aching, injury-inducing movements. And it's clear that no amount of load managing or training or improvements in technology can prevent it. I don't know what the solution is, and quite honestly, I don't think anyone does. These players are designed to play this game, but the game may not be designed for them anymore.